Major funding for KPBS Evening Edition has been made possible in part by Bill Howe Family of Companies, providing San Diego with plumbing, heating, and air restoration, flood and remodeling services for over 40 years. Call 1-800-BILL-HOWE or visit billhowe.com. And by the Conrad Trebas Foundation, Darlene Marcos Shiley, and by the following. And by viewers like you. Thank you.
The heat is on, as they say, and it's expected to get even hotter. Thank you for joining us. I'm Maya Trabulsi. Much of San Diego County is under an excessive heat warning through Saturday. KPBS reporter Katie Anastas talked to Lakeside residents about how they are staying cool.
Temperatures were expected to reach 91 degrees in Lakeside on Wednesday. Lindo Lake County park goers donned plenty of sun protection for their morning walks.
Drink fluids, stay hydrated, pay attention to your attire. Obviously have a big hat on, long sleeve shirt. Other than that, maybe you want to reduce some of your activity, but still enjoy yourself. I mean, as you can see, some of the younger folks out here, skateboarding and on bicycles and stuff.
One of those skateboarders was Benjamin Poyer.
Well, when summer hits, I always get up a little earlier and always have sunscreen, and I'm hydrated, and I always have my hat on. And then the most important thing I've noticed is to find shade spots throughout the day.
Hydration and sun protection will be especially important as the week goes on. The National Weather Service expects high temperatures between 95 and 100 degrees in the San Diego County valleys on Friday and Saturday. That includes Santee, San Marcos, La Mesa, El Cajon, Escondido, and Poway. San Diego County has dozens of cool zones where people can be in air conditioning, including libraries, community centers, senior centers, and churches. Grace Berrigan stopped by the Lakeside Library to pick up a book on her day off.
I already went swimming. Now I'm here at the library. And I'll be in the house for the rest of the day reading my book I picked up.
If you need transportation to a cool zone, you can call 211. The county suggests avoiding unnecessary sun exposure, drinking plenty of water, and wearing light, loose-fitting clothing. Katie Anastas, KPBS News.
Well, heat continues to be the top story over the course of the next couple of days as it continues to build, not only throughout the coastal valleys, but into the mountains and also into the deserts. We'll be talking about some record-challenging high temperatures as we work our way in toward this weekend. And well, the blistering heat does not look like it's going to be leaving anytime soon. At least toward the deserts, we'll highlight the numbers, and if we see any changes coming up in your forecast in just a few.
An update now on a wildfire in rural southeast San Diego County. The McCain Fire has spread over more than 1,300 acres in Boulevard, north of Jacumba Hot Springs. As of this morning, Calfire said it was 50% contained. Today, all evacuation warnings were lifted and the temporary evacuation center at Golden Acorn Casino closed. All road closures near the fire were lifted this afternoon as well. Calfire is going to be switching to a shorter work week for fire personnel, and that is thanks to new funding in the state budget and a deal with Calfire's union. Crews currently have a 3-day work week, 72 hours on, 96 hours off. The new schedule would shorten that to 48 hours on, 96 hours off. The change means the department will hire about 2,400 new fire personnel across the state by 2029. CAL FIRE is working with the union on a rollout plan. President Biden is meeting with Democratic governors and congressional leaders this evening as some ask whether his campaign should continue. This comes after his poor performance in last week's debate. Julia Benbrook has more.
After President Joe Biden's shaky performance at the debate last week, the White House has been on defense.
We understand the concerns. We get it. The president did not have a great night.
Biden's campaign has insisted that it was just a bad night for the 81-year-old president, and he has no plans to drop out.
The president is in this race to win it. He is the Democratic nominee.
But one ally told CNN that if polls plummet, fundraising dries up, and interviews go poorly, Biden knows a comeback will be difficult. On Tuesday, Representative Lloyd Doggett became the first sitting Democratic member of Congress to publicly call on Biden to step away from the race.
I just felt it was important to speak out in the most respectful way possible and say this is not about one night.
To address the concerns surrounding Biden's fitness for office, the president is meeting with Democratic congressional leaders and governors.
The governors just want a direct and candid conversation with the president. We want to make sure he's doing okay. We all know him. I think we also want to talk about strategy. When governors get out there, we put our own credibility and brands on the line.
A recent CNN poll shows that most voters think Democrats have a better chance of keeping the White House if Biden isn't the nominee. Any path forward with someone else would be both logistically difficult and politically risky. Reporting in Washington, I'm Julia Binbrook.
And as we approach Independence Day amid a polarizing presidential election season, some are asking just how patriotic are we as a country? Brian Abel takes a look at what patriotism means and what impacts it.
The 4th of July fireworks bursting high in the air, a symbol of celebration for the United States of America, and so often accompanied by the broad stripes and bright stars of U.S. pride. But 248 years since U.S. independence, many Americans aren't feeling patriotic.
Patriotism is defined really broadly as feeling pride or love for one's country.
A Fox News poll out this week shows a majority of voters in the U.S. are not proud of the country today. And American Studies professor Elizabeth Anker says much of how people feel has to do with our politics.
For instance, in the Democratic Party, do you feel that the government is in the service of helping citizens? What we see in people in the Republican Party, patriotism might be, is the U.S. the strongest country in the world?
Also driving down pride, a shift in generations.
One thing we've seen over the past couple decades, especially in the last decade, is that younger people who have really not been supportive of many of the national policies, even when it's for a party that they support.
What could boost back up American patriotism? Anker says the country often comes together to find collective strength in the face of adversity.
Oftentimes it's a sense of sacrifice, of everybody being involved in some way to fight for the greater good. For instance, after 9/11, people came together to help one another out.
In Washington, Brian Abel reporting.
The divisiveness in national politics is also being felt on a local level, where public meetings have been interrupted by disorderly behavior. Coming up, what can be done to restore order? The USS Boxer is again at sea after abandoning its deployment 3 months ago because of a damaged rudder. KPBS military reporter Andrew Dyer brings us the latest in the Navy's 5-year effort to get this ship back to sea.
The amphibious assault ship is back at sea for what the Navy is calling operational testing of its recently repaired rudder. It's a key step in getting the ship back on deployment for the first time in 5 years. The Navy and Marines have felt the Boxer's absence. It went into the yards in San Diego in 2019 for $200 million in upgrades. While it was in dry dock, its sister ship, the USS Boxer, was destroyed by a fire. Now down 2 big decks, the Navy pushed to get the Boxer back, but cost-cutting, bad parts, and poor oversight led to the ship being delayed in 2022. That's according to a Navy investigation. Further problems among the crew led to another delay last year. When the ship finally deployed in April, it was only gone about a week before it had to turn around and return to San Diego for even more repairs. Experts say the absence of the Boxer and the Boxer have strained the Navy's other amphibious ships, which have had to make up for the shortfall. Andrew Dyer, KPBS News.
I'm Amda Navaz. Tonight on the NewsHour, Hurricane Beryl reaches Jamaica, continuing its deadly path of destruction through the Caribbean. That's coming up at 7 after Evening Edition on KPBS.
And Hurricane Beryl is barreling over Jamaica, and it is the first time hurricane to hit the country in 12 years. Its path through the Caribbean is already a lethal one, with at least 7 storm-related deaths so far. Here's Laura Aguirre with if a U.S. landfall at some point is possible.
This is what the monstrous Category 4 Hurricane Beryl looks like through the lens of a satellite as it roars through the Caribbean. It first slammed ashore in Grenada with maximum sustained winds of 145 miles per hour Monday. Those same life-threatening conditions are now punishing the island of Jamaica. Forecasters put the center of the storm just south of the island Wednesday afternoon, with powerful bands of wind and storm surge possible over its entire eastern half. Jamaica's prime minister took to social media Wednesday, urging everyone in high-risk impact areas to evacuate, with or without official notice.
If you live in a low-lying area, or if you live on the banks of a river or a gully, I implore you to evacuate to a shelter or to safer ground.
U.S.-based disaster relief efforts are underway, with organizations like World Central Kitchen and Global Empowerment Mission packing and preparing supplies for shipment to the hard-hit islands. Beryl is also changing up the itinerary for some cruise ship passengers.
Cruise director told us that after we were done with Costa Maya, they're going to take us north as fast as they can to get us out of the track of the hurricane.
A path that the National Hurricane Center is tracking into northeastern Mexico between now and Sunday, with a tightly wound center between 60 and 70%, making a U.S. landfall of some degree into southern Texas early next week possible. I'm Laura Aguirre for KPBS News.
As the weather gets warmer, more people and tourists flock to our beaches. The city of San Diego is reminding folks that we share the ocean with marine wildlife and to give them plenty of space. KPBS reporter Alexander Wen has more.
They may look cute and cuddly. They're not.
Please stay a safe distance.
That's the message the city is sending after social media video of two young women getting too close to the sea lions at La Jolla Cove Beach went viral. It's pupping season for the sea lions right now, so the mothers may be more protective of their youngs. That's why Emma Brum and her husband are keeping a safe distance.
Just coming down here and seeing how close people get to them, like that just, I don't know, it makes me sad, but also kind of just like wary that people could get hurt from them.
And scenes like this are hard for the volunteer docents from the Sierra Club.
Yeah, so he's agitated, right? So the male is agitated because all this is happening by his females and by the pups.
They try to educate beachgoers and keep them from harassing these marine mammals.
This is a Wednesday. Tomorrow is a holiday, and the weekend, this whole beach is full of hundreds of people from all over the world. So getting the message out locally is good.
I'm about 150 feet or 50 yards away from the sea lions, and that's the distance that NOAA recommends people should stay away from the sea mammals. But as you can see, people are not heeding that advice. In the short time that we were at La Jolla Cove Beach, we saw people coming close for a quick photo. This woman stepped over a sea lion resting on the stairs and encouraged her son to do the same.
We prefer that you watch from the boardwalk.
San Diego Chief Park Ranger Michael Ruiz says these are wild animals and can cause considerable damage.
A mother can be up to 200 pounds, and a male adult can reach 800 pounds. The reason why I'm holding this male adult skull is because it gives you an idea that it's important to keep a safe distance.
And he hopes that people heed that message, especially over the busy holiday this weekend.
San Diego is great. I mean, you do get to see a lot of wildlife.
Alexander Wen, KPBS News.
Some excellent advice there. And as Governor Newsom considers state legislation to restrict smartphone use during school hours, one local school wants parents to weigh in on its phone policy. Lakeside Union School District's rules currently state that cell phones are not allowed during school hours. Some parents, like Kiki Parsons, say banning cell phones can be concerning if an emergency happens on campus. She was a student at Granite Hills High School during the school shooting in 2001.
We had our school shooting, and it was because there was a cell phone in our classroom that I was able to call my mom and tell her that the school was on lockdown, there was a shooting, but that I was safe.
Meanwhile, medical experts say young people can afford time away from their phones. The latest Blue Shield Youth Mental Health Program survey shows that over 3 hours of phone time a day can have negative impacts. Can civility be restored to public government meetings? KPBS's Amita Sharma says it's a question many are grappling with across the country as public discourse hardens. And a warning, this story contains offensive language.
Jason Robo, ladies, gentlemen, traders.
Regular public commenter Jason Robo was on a venomous rant at the San Diego County Board of Supervisors meeting in November 2021. To then Supervisor Nathan Fletcher, he said,
"And Nathan, you should kill yourself. I don't know where you are, but a dishonorable discharge would be you blowing your brains out."
To Supervisor Tara Lawson-Remer, he said,
"And Lemur, as I like to call you, Lawson-Remer, you're a little monkey. I'd like to see you hang from a tree."
And to then County Public Health Officer Dr. Wilma Wooten, he said this.
"And then Wooten, you're Aunt Jemima."
While the comments may have felt threatening, supervisors had few remedies to stop them.
For a threat to be unprotected by the First Amendment, it has to be that it is reckless in causing a person to reasonably fear for his or her physical safety.
Constitutional scholar Erwin Chemerinsky says Robo's comments are certainly offensive.
But under the First Amendment, speech can't be stopped or punished just because it's offensive. Profanities are protected.
Vargas, I can't wait for your arteries to clog. They're not doing it fast enough.
UCSD political science professor Thad Kauser says this reality leaves lawmakers in a tricky spot.
How do you get the quieter voices or the voices who can't be there to have a government serve their interests and make sure that it makes decisions without everything being drowned out by one voice?
Supervisors tried after Robo called Dr. Wooten Aunt Jemima. They cut the time people could comment if there are 10 or more speakers. And if those sessions turn disorderly, Chairman Nora Vargas pauses the meeting and the unruly person is removed. Supervisor and Vice Chairwoman Tara Lawson-Remer is unimpressed.
If I was running these meetings, this would be very different.
She says she'd further reduce the time someone can speak and issue only one warning to disruptive speakers before ejecting and barring them from addressing the board in person again.
You can still have your voice heard, but you can call in and participate remotely.
But that would be a problem, says David Loy of the California First Amendment Coalition. A person can be kicked out for being out of control, but cannot be barred from all future meetings based on that prior disruption. But he suggests supervisors use their bully pulpit and say,
"We do not like this speech. We do not think it's acceptable. We have to allow people to say what they have to say because that is their First Amendment right, but we do not agree with it. We do not condone it. We do not want this to impact other people's right to be heard."
Keith Allred of the National Institute for Civil Discourse says reminding the public at meetings that the rowdy people do not represent the majority of San Diegans might help too.
If I were a supervisor, I would keep putting that in context. I am so grateful that so few of the 3 million people who live in San Diego conduct themselves that way.
The rest of the onus in restoring civility at local government meetings may lie with many of those 3 million San Diegans.
We've got to show up ourselves and we've got to say, you know what, I care if the JV football team has pads. I care if our kids' history books stop at Chernobyl. I want you to get back to governing.
John Porton is a research manager specializing in peace building and resilience at USD's Joan B. Kroc Institute for Peace and Justice.
That is getting to the core of using speech to reorient ourselves to what we think is important and acceptable for our communities to move forward.
And when policy disagreements occur, both elected officials and the public could borrow from community organizers. University of Connecticut sociology professor Ruth Braunstein says they see no friends, no enemies when working to solve problems.
Because you might have to work with that person next week on a problem, and you're going to be much less likely to call them a murderer if you think you might have to work with them on another issue.
San Diego Mesa College political science professor Carl Luna says doing nothing is not an option. Democracy is like a relationship. It demands conversation and compromise to tackle basic problems and move forward. Without it, institutions look worse.
And those who want to just burn it all down get a better opportunity to do so.
which he says is a death knell for democracy.
Your time has expired. Sit down.
Amita Sharma, KPBS News.
An extra $9 million is set to go toward repairs at a handful of aging pools in San Diego. A city committee approved the funds, which would be used for essential repairs at 7 pools: Claremont, the Martin Luther King Jr. Pool in Encanto, Tierra Santa Community Pool, Carmel Mountain, Vista Terrace Pool, Swanson Pool near University City, and Kearney Mesa Pool.
Not everyone has a pool in their house, so we need centers like this to go and swim and enjoy the summer.
It'll help people in the community, like, get out, go to the pool. They want to swim, they want to learn, they could come here.
The funds are still pending city approval. The city plans to conduct repairs during the off-season starting in October through April to minimize disruptions for pool users. The city of San Diego announced today that the Miramar Reservoir will be open to visitors starting on Saturday. The city had suspended on-water activities at the reservoir last September to install a new underwater pipeline. The new pipeline is part of Pure Water San Diego, which aims to provide almost half of the local water supply by 2035. Purified water produced at the North City Pure Water facility will flow through 8 miles of underground pipeline before reaching the reservoir.
Lots of heat to talk about as we work our way throughout the next several days over the interior valleys, the mountainous locations, and into the deserts. There are numerous advisories out, and as we talk about some of the interior valleys, these are going from Friday into Saturday. But as we work our way out toward the desert locations, again, toward Borrego Springs, these excessive heat warnings will go well into next week. So the heat's not going to be leaving some locations here really anytime soon. As we even look at overnight lows here, only dropping down into the 70s for an hour or two tonight around Borrego Springs. Oceanside to Chula Vista, pair of 65s, and again down to 59 into Ramona. So still some comfort, at least a bit of a break here from the heat over the interior valleys. But that's going to change here later on this week as we'll start to see a warming trend, especially as we head our way, like I said, into Friday and also into Saturday. And we'll also see that heat stretching northbound throughout the state. But intense sunshine is going to be with us here. And with this heat comes the risk of heat-related illness. High temperature-wise for, again, tomorrow, 116 at Borrego Springs, Ramona, climbing up into the mid-90s. That's a huge leap from your overnight low, and around 80 both in Oceanside and Chula Vista. But let's go down the road here because even toward the coast, we're going to be hovering around 80 degrees as we go from Thursday right in towards Saturday and into early next week with more sunshine on the way. The interior valleys heating up here Friday into Saturday, then perhaps again as we head our way into early next week with Monday's high temperature back up into the mid-90s. Even the mountainous locations here climbing up into the 80s, the mid-80s as we head our way into Friday. And then again, we'll see another round of warmth as we come to Sunday and Monday. But the core of the heat, again, for the interior valleys and the deserts with the mid to upper 100 and teens, daily record high temperatures here will be challenged. For KPBS News, I'm meteorologist Justin Pavic.
Preparations are underway for California's largest fireworks show for the 4th of July. And if you plan to catch the Big Bay Boom, organizers say get there early and plan where you're going to park. You can pre-purchase parking through their website. Bus and trolley service will also be extended to midnight. The founder of the Big Bay Boom says the event draws in about 5,000 people each year and generates nearly $11 million for our local economy.
If you love America and you think about what it's meant to you, and if you think about the American dream, you should support this. It's once a year, remind us of how great our country is.
Fireworks start at 9 p.m. 4 barges will be set up along the bay at Shelter and Harbor Islands, as well as the north and south ends of the Embarcadero. U.S. athletes are preparing for the Olympic Games in Paris. This week, USA Rugby announced the men's team at the Chula Vista Elite Athlete Training Center. KPBS video journalist Charlotte Radulovich takes us there.
Let's go, brothers. Let's get sharp. Come on.
The game of sevens is brutal. One moment, one mistake, you can lose a game. So it's unforgiving, but it's highly explosive and highly exciting to be a part of and to play.
talk to people around San Diego, they understand that there is an Olympic training center here. I mean, now it's called the Chula Vista Elite Training Center, but they do know that people train here. The game is worldwide as 15s. We play the game in 7s. In America, it's still kind of new. Rugby is still kind of new to America, so we've taken a lot of strides in the 7s over the last 10 plus years. This is our 3rd qualification for the Olympic Games. Sevens team, we train here full time, so once we're contracted, we're here the entire time.
And the challenge is obviously to get some silverware, you know, get some tin. Hopefully we're going to look for the shiny stuff, gold, silver, bronze. You know, we're capable, we have the potential of medaling at these games, but it's going to be insanely difficult. Everything we do on the training park these next few weeks is about getting ready for those pool games. We'll not look past the pool games, but it's focus on those, and then we'll see where it takes us.
Go 3, 1, 2, 3. It's all about family out here.
And that story was produced by our talented KPBS video journalist, Charlotte Radulovich. You can find all of tonight's stories on our website, kpbs.org. Thank you for joining us. I'm Maya Trabulsi.
Major funding for KPBS Evening Edition has been made possible in part by Bill Howe Family of Companies, providing San Diego with plumbing, heating, and air restoration, flood and remodeling services for over 40 years. Call 1-800-BILL-HOWE or visit billhowe.com. And by the Conrad Prebys Foundation, Darlene Marcos Shiley, and by the following. And by viewers like you. Thank you.